We'd like to say a special welcome to our guest with us. My name is Ray Leftridge, and with me is Andrea Hlongwane. And we are so happy to have her with us, co-worker and friend, and just glad to have you with us, Andrea.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Happy to be here.
great, great. We wanted to connect with you because, first of all, you're now teaching in Guam, so we'll talk more in detail about that in just a minute. But tell us, right now for me, it's evening. It's, I think, around six, yeah, about a little bit after six in the evening. And I know there's a time difference where
Yes.
you are. So what time is it for you now?
It's currently 10:08 or 10:09 a.m.
AM. Okay, so we're here in the US in the evening. She's kind of waking up, and it's
Yes.
actually it's Monday evening for me right now, but it's
It's
Tuesday
Tuesday
morning, right?
morning.
Tuesday morning. And we'll talk about how you made the adjustment, I'm sure, once you arrive. So we'll get into that a little bit. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your family, your mom and dad, and where you grew up.
Um, well, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I was raised in a single family household with just my mom and I. My dad passed when I was younger, and so it's just us. I attended SDA schools up until 10th grade. I began at Baltimore Junior Academy, followed by Tacoma Academy. However, I only went there for 1 year because the commute from Baltimore to Silver Spring was very, very long. I had to leave my house by 6 a.m. every morning.
Wow.
And so just being exhausted with that. And my mom also, we made the decision to put me in public school. I went to a school called Bard High School, Early College, Baltimore. It's an early college because we had the opportunity to gain our associate's degrees in liberal arts while also our high school diploma. And so I was able to get my degree a little early. And then I went to college at Oakwood University where I studied elementary education and I got my BS in elementary education. So
All
in
right.
2024.
Excellent. Excellent. So growing up, single family, single parent, I should say. Um, any brothers or sisters? Or you were your only child, or how would
Just
you
an only
explain?
child. It
Okay.
was just my mom and I. I think that actually that's what prompted my love of kids. I always wanted a sibling, but it wasn't really feasible given the circumstances. And so at school and church, I was heavily involved with kids. In my middle school, it was a K through 8 school. And in sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, I was on the student council and then the president of the school. And so I had a good rapport with teachers and the principal. And so they would allow me to finish my work early and then go help in pre-K and kindergarten.
Oh,
So that's
nice.
what I can first remember loving kids and loving helping them learn. Also in church with children's church and helping out with adventures and things. I love that. And so I think that really just love having an affection for kids and just, loving their free spirited energy and things. That's what really drew me to that.
That's great. So you really, from a young age, started loving kids and started getting
Yeah.
involved in teaching, even at a young age almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And you mentioned you then went to public school later.
Did.
How was that transition? Because going
Um,
from private school to public school.
that was definitely a culture shock, especially being in Baltimore City. It's not the safest city or the nicest city, so I did encounter a lot of new things. However, I was very sheltered. I grew up in an SCA household, and all of my family is SCA and things. So, for the most part, my mom just kept me in the church on weekends, Pathfinders. We had a group called Sisters for Christ. I did Bible Bowl with Pathfinders on Friday nights and things. So I wasn't as involved with my school. It did just make me nervous to be there, if I'm being completely honest. And so I was just grateful for the degree. Out of all the public schools, it seemed like the one that would benefit me the most. So that was good.
That's good. That's excellent. And so, were there any teachers there that whether it was the Adventist school or private school or public school that kind of impressed you about going into the teaching field or just education in general?
Um, Not so much education. Honestly, I loved my teachers growing up. Every single teacher from kindergarten to 12th grade. I loved all of my teachers. I always had good relationship with my teachers, so it would be hard to single out just one. But my desire to be an educator first really began the summer after my junior year. While I was in school, I was attending a group that focused on civic engagement and getting rules passed in Baltimore City to better our education system. So typically, we would go out and inform people about the issues that we had in our community and how we could fix them. And then we would also meet with senators and things to lobby for certain laws to be passed in Baltimore City. And then the following summer after my junior year, the leaders of my group, they said they wanted us to share these skills with other youth in the community. And so they had pretty much different classes of 25 teenagers or teenagers to young adults between ages 16 to 21. And they wanted us to go in groups of two to meet with these students every week for 2 to 3 days a week and share with them the information that we learned. And so that's when I was first introduced to a lesson plan. They gave us the lesson plans, they gave us all the materials and things, and we would practice the beginning of the week. And then I think Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we would actually go to the different locations and we would be in charge of a group of 25 students and have to teach them what we were doing. And so I was very, very intimidated by that because at this time I was only 16 years old. So everyone was my age or older. However, once I had the opportunity to go in front of them, and once I built those relationships, and when I was getting those small light bulb moments, that was just so, so encouraging. And I loved it. And I decided from then on, I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay, wow, excellent. That was a great experience. And I'm sure just being able to uh, get out of your shell and get
Yeah.
age 16 and have to be upfront and explain things, especially to almost your peers, that would have been kind of scary, but you made that
Yeah.
happen. Oh, great, excellent. So once you graduated again from which high school tell me again.
It's called Bard High School Early College, Baltimore. There are
Okay,
multiple locations across the US, and they're associated with Bard College, which is located in New York.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
And what made you decide to attend Oakwood University from there? What led you?
So, honestly, being outside of the Adventist community again was hard. Going from private school to public school was a difficult transition. So I knew I at least wanted to be in a Christian environment. So I looked at a few Christian schools, Christian colleges across the United States. I even visited Grand Canyon University in Arizona. And then I had the chance to visit Oakwood University for the first time because I wasn't able to go to things like OU Live and things. I had no idea about it while I was in my public schools. I just happened to take a trip with my mom and two of my best friends to Huntsville right before COVID hit. And so, literally, more news was popping up about COVID spreading and that schools were shutting down. And so, I remember them on the drive there, they told me we wouldn't be in school the next week. And so, I got to Oakwood maybe on a Thursday. And on Friday, I went to their AY service, and that's where they announced that Oakwood University will be closing down. And of course, that was really emotional for the students and things. And there was just a worship service that happened that was so impactful for me. Just to see people who look like me praising God all in the same place at the same time. And again, young people. You know, we see it in church all the time, but we're losing that that in between high school and 30 years old group. So it was just
Yeah.
really good to see that. And I knew I wanted to be a part of that community because every college, you can get your degree anywhere. However, that experience definitely pushed me to want to be specifically at Oakland University.
Oh, great. Excellent. And since you came right at the point of COVID, what was going through your mind? Like, how do I continue at Oakwood with the COVID experience going on?
Honestly, initially, because it was just happening, and I was in school and then I wasn't. It didn't quite hit me when I was traveling there and once I was there, even coming home. Because I think by the time I was on my way home, they said we would actually be out for just 2 weeks. So I'm thinking in 2 weeks we'll be back at school. And of course that didn't happen. I finished my high school experience online. Um, So I think just after being cooped up in the house, though it was worrisome to get sick and my mom was so terrified to send me away, I was just ready to get out of the house, honestly. So even when I was told that most of my classes would probably be on Zoom, even if I were on campus, that sounded like more fun than being at home. I was working
Okay.
at Walmart. So yeah, I preferred that option. And so I went after it. I did get COVID within the first 2 months of me getting to school,
Okay.
along with, I think, my whole dorm floor. So that was difficult, but ultimately I knew I wanted to go.
All right. That's great. That's great. And so your overall experience at Oakwood University was good.
Yes,
And okay. All right.
definitely.
Did you only major in education? Or I know some students do double majors or minors.
Yes. So I finished only with elementary education. I did at some point have a minor in Spanish, but I was told that it would extend my school career, and so I just didn't want to go that path. I figured I learned Spanish by immersion because I always knew I wanted to go abroad at some point in time. So I dropped that after just one semester and after speaking with counselors, the advisors.
Okay. All right. So what kind of you mentioned that you knew you would go abroad. Was that something that sparked at Oakwood or that something um was, just you had when you were younger?
Um, well, so I think that it ultimately goes back to I've always wanted to go abroad. I've always been interested and curious about what there is outside of where I'm living. Even going from Baltimore, Maryland to Huntsville, Alabama was greatly different. Again, I came from a single parent household where most of my classmates and all the people around me were living in similar situations. And then to go to Oakwood University, where many of my friends they have married parents who are doctors and lawyers and
Mhm.
so forth. That was just impressive. And so I'm thinking from going from Baltimore to Huntsville, imagine going from Huntsville out of the country. So I always knew that I wanted to travel and I always knew that there was more to see in the world, but also specifically looking into becoming a missionary. While I was a child, my mom would always instill and encourage that, especially in the moments when we're down, that's the time where we should pour into other people. A lot of times we can be consumed by our own problems, and it's really hard to get out of that when that's your center of attention. But she always pushed for service opportunities, because a lot of times it'll help you taking the focus off of you and seeing someone else do better, especially with your by your efforts. That's just what we were created to be as humans. So I completed one missionary trip in 8th grade. It was stateside. It was just in a small city called Steubenville, Ohio. And I love that experience. We just helped run a camp for an underfunded community. We were there just for a week, but groups would constantly circulate throughout, and we would help with household projects like painting or building patios and continuing to help with a garden that they had there and things. So I always knew that I wanted to do something similar to that. That was a highlight from my childhood. And so throughout high school, actually, initially, I wasn't planning on going to college. Once I realized I wanted to teach, I actually
Mm.
had a teacher in high school who she joined Peace Corps and she served at an orphanage in the Philippines. And so I said, oh, I joined Peace Corps. This is great. And so I
Right.
looked into that and I hoped to do that. But my mom was very, very she really, really wanted me to go to college. And so I said, fine, I want to teach anyway. I like kids, I'll do it. And so I did. And then while I was at Oakwood University, we don't have an official missions team, or I don't think, at least not when I attended. And so I think someone visited from a neighboring school saying that there's a school in Guam, they need help here. And we're looking for education majors and theology majors to come and just help for a few months. And I was excited. This was maybe my sophomore, junior year. I told my mom, I called her, I said, I'm going to Guam. I want to go to Guam and help these kids. And she said, no, you're going to finish school. I sent you here to finish school. You can always do that afterwards. And so I figured I'd finish school. I actually reached out prior or a little bit before graduating. However, the person in charge, it took them a while to get back to me, maybe a month, not too long, but in that short of a time, I interviewed at Oakwood Adventist Academy. So I told them,
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm here for at least the next year, but I'm open to next year, the following year.
That's great. And so, as I mentioned at the beginning, we're actually co-workers at Oakwood Events Academy. So I know you joined us last year, and so just tell us your experience here at Oakwood Events Academy. When you were hired, were you planning? I know at one point you were planning to like have your own classroom. Was that the plan initially?
Yes.
Oh,
So I actually interned at OAA my senior year. I interviewed before the school year ended and I got the job. The position that I applied for was a K through 2 teacher, so I could have been assigned for any of those levels. However, once the school year began, we found that there was a different need. Um, and so I spoke with a few of the principals and we talked about intervention. And so that's actually the route that we took. I did only study elementary education, so that was nerve wracking to help pioneer an intervention class, but that's what we did, heavily guided by former vice principal, Mrs. Calendar. She helped me a lot with that, but I worked with grades K through 6, doing math and reading intervention, not only on the low end, but the high end as well. We wanted to make sure that all test scores were moving. It's common that a lot of times when students are on the higher end, that they just get bored in class, and so they don't continue growing, or yeah, they just become lazy at times. And honestly, I've experienced that even in elementary and middle school. So it was good to be able to work with both spectrums to make sure that the school is seeing growth throughout.
yes, and as I mentioned to you while you were here, we did see some great changes. I mean, you could see the data actually of the growth of the students, and a lot of that was because of what you did. And
Oh,
so, yeah,
God.
yeah. And so, matter of fact, we haven't had that position, as you mentioned, you pioneered it. And currently we don't have one, and hopefully we'll have someone like that, like you, in that position again in the future. But we're so
Yes.
happy that you were here to pioneer that for us. And can you share any memorable experiences that anything that stood out while you're working here at Oakwood Events Academy?
Um, Honestly, overall, the experience was just amazing. I particularly enjoyed working with the kindergarten students. We
Mhm.
had a lot of big personalities in kindergarten, and
Oh
so
yeah.
just working with them every day, even with the crazy behavior of running around in the classroom when we should be doing math and things. That was definitely interesting, and I'll never forget those students' names. That was just awesome. Also, I'm very grateful for Miss Little, who currently is still there. She really poured into me. Being a home away from home, she reminds me so much of my aunt, and I told her constantly that I just really needed that. At times, it was hard. Again, just beginning to start my career and then do a job that I didn't anticipate doing. That was difficult and at times discouraging and things, but she just continued to pour into me. And so I'm so appreciative of that relationship that I was able to build with her.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we really appreciated your time here at Oakwood Evans
Yeah.
Academy, and students still talk about, the impact that you made on their lives, and, and we appreciate that. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back. We're going to talk about your experience now in Guam, and how everything is going there for you. So we'll be right back.
Since 1896, Oakwood Adventist Academy has stood as a beacon of excellence, shaping minds, strengthening character, and inspiring purpose. Founded as Oakwood Industrial School, OAA is the oldest and largest black Seventh-day Adventist school in the nation, proudly serving generations of students with a commitment to faith, excellence, and community. From our rich legacy on the campus of Oakwood University to our modern, state-of-the-art facilities, OAA continues to grow while staying true to its mission to develop, nurture, and affirm students mentally, physically, and spiritually for a lifetime of service to God and humanity. With small class sizes, certified teachers, dual enrollment opportunities, and career-focused programs, OAA prepares students not just for today, but for the future God has planned for them. Oakwood Adventist Academy, where faith meets excellence, where history inspires purpose, and where every student discovers their DNA, developed, nurtured, and affirmed. For further information, visit the website of OAA at www.oakwoodadventistacademy.org or call 256-801-0534. That's 256-801-0534.
Guest is Miss Andrea Hlongwane. Uh, always mess it up. Pronounce that for me. I'm so sorry.
Hlongwane.
Hlongwane. Okay. All right. Thank you. And it's a unique name, I must say.
Yeah. So
You
my
want to
dad, he's
tell
from
us a little
South
about that?
Africa.
I'm sorry,
Pardon?
say again. Tell us a little bit about your background with that last name.
Uh, my dad is actually he's from South Africa. So the name is Zulu.
Okay. Oh,
Yes.
nice, nice. And I believe I may have asked you this before if you had visited um, South Africa while you at some
Yeah.
point.
So actually, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland. At around 3 months, I believe, we moved to South Africa. I lived there until I was 2 years old, where we moved back. And I visited once again in 2017.
Okay. All right. Nice. And do you have family still in South Africa?
I do have family. I'm not close to them, honestly. My dad wasn't heavily involved in my life, and then he eventually passed. So that was probably the one person that I had the strongest connection with. I know he has siblings. Um, I know he has a few siblings, but I don't get to speak to them often. Maybe once every other year.
Okay. All right. And I'm sure at some point you'll get a chance to maybe meet that side of the family as well as you
Yeah.
get older.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. When we're going to talk a little bit about the experience you're having now with in Guam. Can you tell us, take us back to you had to basically take you know you were going, but you decided to teach at Oakwood Events Academy for a year. What was the preparation? Tell us how that worked and in getting that position to teach in Guam. What was the procedure that you had to take?
Um, Well, honestly, I'm not that great of a planner, and I didn't fully know that I was going to Guam initially. I did have it on my heart. I knew of them only because people visited while I was in school, so that was a place that I could say, "Mom, I know about this place. I want to go here." However, I didn't know much. I didn't really know anyone there. So everything was a bit crazy, to be completely honest. After about the first half of my year at OAA, I fasted and prayed, and I felt like God was telling me to go elsewhere. But at that point in time, I didn't know where. While I did mention and express my interest in Guam prior to working there, I didn't have any solid contacts there or know of any positions and things, and I didn't follow up with them. So I didn't really know. So I actually told my principal that I wouldn't be returning the following year with no solid plans of where I was to go next. But I just felt that God was telling me there's a need. So I sought out going elsewhere. There's a website from NAD called hesaidgo.org, and they post multiple missionary opportunities. So I looked at that several hours a week at different opportunities. However, before applying in February, I had a skin outbreak. I had a rash covering my body and my arms, and even my eyes were swollen shut for a short time. I didn't have a primary care doctor in Alabama at the time, and so I saw a clinic. That doctor was very dismissive and told me it was just allergies and I'd be fine. He'd give me a round of steroids. While I was at that doctor's office, though, I was communicating with my mom and my aunt back home. And my aunt, she actually has lupus, and she mentioned to me, "You may want to get tested for lupus because this sounds similar to the things that I've experienced
Mhm.
before being diagnosed." And so I told the doctor there, and he said, "You're wasting your time and your money, but it's whatever you want. We can do the test." And so I did that blood test. And a week later, it actually came back positive that I did have an autoimmune disease. And I would have to go in for further testing to figure out what that disease was. Um, However, I had to see specifically a rheumatologist, and they were booked out until August. So in February, I'm told I'm going to be stateside at least until August and potentially longer, depending on what the disease was, what treatment would be, if the doctors wanted to have follow-ups and things. So my life was kind of on pause at that point as far as teaching abroad and doing missionary work. So I didn't actually reach out to any schools at all. So the school year ended, I put all my stuff in storage and I moved back home with my mom in Maryland for the summertime, planning to see the rheumatologist in Maryland in August. But late July, I felt a push from God again, just saying that there's a need, reach out to the one contact that you do have in Guam. And so while I was actually at a family vacation, I sent a long text to who I know as the pastor's wife here, Miss Anna Tenorio, and her husband, Paulo Tenorio, actually used to be over missions here, not just over Guam, but all of the Micronesian islands. He was in that position, but has since taken a step back because the church is growing. So praise God for that. But I spoke with her. I told her I'm sick. I don't know with what. I don't know when I can come, but is there any space for me there? And she said, absolutely. We need a pre-K and kindergarten teacher really, really badly. So let me put you in contact with the board and the principal. And so I spoke with them maybe the first week of August, the same time when I was having a few days actually before my doctor's appointment. I spoke with them. They were excited about me. They actually said that though I was reaching out just to pretty much fill a student missionary position where I would just assist throughout wherever they needed me in the school, they actually wanted me to be a full-time teacher. And so I had my doctor's appointment. I got the news that I was miraculously fine.
Well, praise God.
Praise
Yeah.
God. So that's a miracle. That nothing was wrong. The doctor said she looked at all of my results. She's not sure what that result was actually about initially in February, and that I was perfectly healthy and that we would do a follow-up over Christmas break because I expressed that I wanted to go abroad. But I was healed. Honestly, I was healed. So
Wow.
that's my testimony and me getting
Yeah.
there. So
Wow.
I stayed in contact with the school. We interviewed. And the following week after the interview, I actually booked a flight to come. And that was actually the second week into the school year. So
Okay.
it
Oh,
was a
wow.
very quick turnover. Luckily, this is a US territory, so I didn't have to do anything with visas or anything. I was just able to come, show my passport, and I was let in. And so,
Oh,
yes.
wow. Well, praise God. You
Yes.
definitely walked a walk of faith.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, definitely. And that's something that I've wanted to strengthen because I remember a pastor was speaking and they said, while faith is believing and, thinking and accepting that you know that God is who he is and what he wants is what you want for him, there's also a walk of obedience that you have to do and you have to go through. And I felt like that was where I fell short. So this has definitely been a testing season. However,
yeah.
I'm grateful for it. And God just continuously shows up for me and just demonstrates his grace and mercy.
Yes, he does. That's wonderful. And I'm sure you had a great support system. Like I know your mom must have been praying for you and other people. Was she a little nervous about you going to Guam once she found out that you were definitely going?
Yes. So again, I always knew I wanted to do service somewhere at some point in time in my life. And again, I considered a Peace Corps. I actually even considered the military. And so my mom kind of always knew that I wanted to leave, but especially with these specific circumstances, without much thought, without much preparation, I don't think she saw it coming so soon.
Mm.
So when we're at the beach in July, the last week of July, and I'm telling her, oh, I'm speaking to a pastor in Guam and the pastor's wife in Guam, and they're going to put me in contact with the school. And then the first week of August, oh, the board wants to speak with me. And then the second week of August, I'm doing an interview. And then I got the job and I'm booking a flight now. It was very, very quick for her. So it was hard for her. She cried a lot when I left, as did a lot of other family members, but they all prayed over me. I had a special prayer before leaving that Sabbath. I think I left on Sunday. So that Sabbath, I had a special prayer by the church members and the pastor and elders and things. And I have a strong community at home that I'm grateful for that has helped support me thus far.
Very good. Very good. Tell us when you first got to Guam, what was your experience like? Because now, well, first of all, how long does it take to get to Guam? Tell us about that. I'm sure that was a story by itself. And then what was your experience like when you first landed?
It's a long journey. It's definitely a long journey. I took 3 different flights. Um, I flew from, I believe, Maryland to Michigan, I would believe Detroit, Michigan, and
Okay.
then I went from Detroit to Seoul, Korea, and then I went from Seoul, Korea here to Guam.
Okay.
That was 21 hours of travel total. So
Wow.
it's
Okay.
definitely very long. um, yeah, so I would say initially arriving here, I actually got in, I believe, at 12 a.m., but between just getting my bags and then getting situated through customs, um, I didn't actually get to where I am staying until 2 a.m. Um, and so I was just tired, honestly. After that
Yeah.
long travel, I was tired. I arrived on a Thursday morning. And so I unpacked a little, I went to sleep. I spent Thursday when I think I woke up at, I couldn't tell you, but I know for the following week I kept waking up at 3 a.m.
Mhm.
But I spent that Thursday unpacking all day until maybe 5 or 6 p.m. I got a text from the principal saying, "Can you come in tomorrow? The sub that we have for your class actually is only going to be here for half a day." And I didn't realize.
Wow.
And I think it would be really good for you to come in, meet the students, see what she's done this far so that when you start on Monday, it won't be too difficult. Um, I didn't really feel like I had an option, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that I'd be shooting myself in the foot to come on Monday with nobody else to assist me, even with finding textbooks and the students' names and things. I thought that would be pretty difficult because we're all pretty much stretched thin in that school. Um, so I ended up going in. I arrived on Thursday. I went in on Friday. Around noon, I was so exhausted, but we pushed through till 3:15, and it was awesome. I loved my students from the very beginning. I have a very small class, only 7 students, 2 in pre-K and 5 in kindergarten.
Oh,
But
wow. Okay,
overall,
nice.
they're very loving, very warm. Um, and they're very timid. I have a lot of quiet and shy students. So that was
Okay.
new. I think I have a pretty big personality, and a lot of the kids that are drawn to me have a lot of big personalities. So that was an adjustment. But overall, all went well.
That's great. That's great. So I know the time change and all that travel definitely took a toll on you at first, but
Yeah.
then you got adjusted.
Mhm.
And so the school, is it a K to 8 school, or what grades does it go to?
So it's pre-K through 12.
Okay, all the way to
Yeah.
12. Okay, nice. And it's an Adventist school.
Yes. Correct.
Okay. Is this the only Adventist school in on the island, or just one of them?
It's the only Adventist school on island,
Okay.
and we have a population of a little under 110 currently, somewhere between 100 and 110.
Okay. Okay. And where is this located? The
Um,
school.
Windward Hills, Guam. That's where it is on the map. I'm
Okay.
still I'm still getting familiar with the different areas. People
Yeah.
refer to different places being the north and the south or central. I know I
Yeah.
live central. I'm not quite sure whether the school is northern or southern.
Okay. All right. Understandable. And the school itself, um, like, is it similar to Oakwood Events Academy where you have like a first grade teacher, second grade teacher, or is it more combined grades?
So it's really different. We lack resources. So pretty much all of us teachers are missionaries. A lot of people don't have a background in education. Some people were pastors and decided to come and serve, including our principal. He's actually a pastor from Korea. My coworkers are from different countries all over who study different things. So, for example, on the high school side, we have a teacher who's from Kenya, but he teaches science there. And then I think he also has some type of mechanical class as well for the students, some type of engineering class, I believe. So that helps when you actually have done those fields and you're able to pour into the students. As far as grades, elementary school, we're all doubled up with 2 grades. So I have pre-kin kinder, next door's first and second together. third and fourth is together, and then fifth and sixth is together.
Okay.
The class size numbers vary. Mine is a smaller class along with first and second. They also only have 7 students, but I believe third and fourth has 22, and I believe fifth and sixth has 26 students. So it just varies.
Okay. Are you guys all in the same building?
Yes. So we
12? Okay.
have we have a building that's shaped like two L's,
Okay.
one connected. Uh, so I'm on one corner with pre-K and kindergarten, and then it's first and second, third and fourth, fifth and sixth. Towards the middle is the office, and then if you go on the other side of the L, you have the seventh and eighth in high school.
Okay, nice.
But we don't actually have a building. It's an outdoor school, if that makes sense. So I know in warmer places like California, students walk outside to get to different rooms. That's how our building is. So when I open my door out, it goes straight to outside. There's a sidewalk that leads around the building, but there's not
Like a
halls.
hallway that
Yeah.
students go down. Gotcha. All right, that's nice. And so it's interesting you were saying a lot of the teachers are missionaries.
Yes.
Okay. So they're depending on, people coming in uh
Yeah.
to teach to run the school.
Yes. So that's why it's hard to do things here. I committed to just 1 year of teaching. However, a lot of my colleagues have been here for 5 years or 8 years, and some even 12. So it just depends. But even I know the girl whose place I took, she was only here for 1 year as well.
Okay.
So it's just hard to keep consistency. I would say that's a difference between Guam Adventist Academy and then Oakwood Adventist Academy. I think at Oakwood Adventist Academy, we do a really good job at making sure that everything is aligned how it should be and that it continues the following school year. Or if things need to be changed, then you can take the initiative to change it and make sure that you don't find that issue again the next year. However, even when I came into my classroom, I was asking, what textbooks are you using? Where's the curriculum? And the sub, she said, well, I'm not quite sure, honestly. I've been printing off papers from Teacher Pay Teacher. You can do this, that, and the third. She works as a nurse we have an Adventist clinic here, and I believe she works as a nurse there. But she said that she actually taught at this school for 10 years as a missionary as well, years ago. So it was just hard beginning, honestly, even when speaking to the principal, because he was a pastor before, and this is his second year being principal. He's still very new to it.
Okay.
So um, figuring out textbooks and things was a big thing at the beginning because
Yeah.
initially it looked like I wouldn't have a curriculum. However, I went through a lot of boxes, a lot of closets, and I found the materials. And even for things like our Bible class, there's no book for kindergarten or pre-K. So I use the first grade book and I take it to different AI sites and I say, can you make this story into a fun read out loud for kindergarten? And that's what I do every day for our Bible stories. And then I'm able to use most of the worksheets that they have. I'll use it for my class. I have a few advanced students, so it's not too difficult. And for the ones who struggle, I'll just help them more. But that was definitely something new to adjust to.
Okay. Yeah, yes. I know it could be challenged, like you said, the resources could be, a challenge. And of course, here in the United States, we'll complain. We say we don't have textbooks and stuff like that. We'll complain, but being there, I'm sure it's not as, you know, um, this is what we have is we're rich in what we have versus what they have there in Guam. That's good. Do they wear uniforms like we do here? Okay, every day or just
Yes, they wear uniforms every day. K through sixth, they only wear their formal uniforms on Fridays for chapel. And then Monday through Thursday, they wear their PE uniforms. They have PE every day with a PE teacher. I'm
okay?
grateful for her. I get a 20-30 minute break. And then I believe the high school on Mondays and Fridays, they wear their formal uniform. And then the middle of the week, they can wear their PE uniform.
Okay. And I would assume because the weather's so nice, most of the time their PE's like outside. Most of the time, do they have a gym?
Um,
I guess.
We have a gym. However, it's a gym. There are, I think, two basketball hoops, and also we have a net for volleyball that they'll put up. We have a volleyball team also. But The walls are outside. I don't know how to describe it. There's like a net. There's a big net kind of, or fence. There's cement for maybe 4 feet from the ground, and then above that, it's all open.
Okay.
And then we have a roof. So we have structures to hold up the roof, but for the most part, it's open. So I think I know the principal mentioned potentially wanting to renovate, but we'll have to find the funds to actually do that so that we can enclose our gym and have AC installed because it's very hot there.
Okay. So you guys don't have AC, right?
We don't have AC in the gym because it's
Yeah.
open, but in the
Okay.
classroom we have AC, and
AC.
it
Okay.
works pretty well.
Good, good. Yes. Excellent. So, have you guys, do you guys have special programs? I know here we have our Christmas program and all that. Do you guys do, we have our choir, we have, musicals or some types of programs that parents attend. Do you guys have that as well?
Yes, we are currently planning for our Christmas program in December that the students are looking forward to. I don't quite know all that will go into it. I did hear a few of the high school teachers mentioning practicing their skit. So I believe there will be a play.
Okay.
My students, they attend music class with another teacher 3 or 4 days a week. I believe 3 days a week. And she's practicing songs with them specifically for the Christmas program as well. And I think that though that choir consists of pre-K through sixth grade. And so
Okay.
they'll be doing
Nice.
it. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So is the school supported similar to Oakwood Events Academy? Parents have to pay tuition, or do you get funding through other sources?
We definitely do have tuition, but I'm not sure all the ins and outs if scholarships are available or
Okay.
I know that we have a large Adventist community on island.
Okay.
Though the island is so small, we actually have 8 Adventist churches.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Nice.
yeah, and the churches, they're fairly large. They have a good amount of people in each church. So I'm sure that different members and things, they definitely do donate. I know the church I attend, they donate to help keep our school afloat and make sure the students have their needs met. But I don't know all the details behind the finances.
Okay. And so the eight churches then support that school.
Yeah, so they
Awesome.
definitely support heavily. And so we're grateful for that because even the churches need assistance. We actually don't even have enough pastors on island for all 8 churches. We actually only have 3 pastors here um, who have all moved here and have decided to serve. And so most of the churches, they either pastors are doubled up at 2 churches
Okay.
or they just have a first elder who is currently acting as pastor. But they'll have a lot of different members speak, or we have a lot of evangelistic series. So even people coming from off island to come and preach on
Wow.
island because we have a
Nice.
large Adventist community.
Nice. Very good. So can you describe like a typical school day for you, like from the morning till end of the day? Do you have break? Like I know you mentioned one break, but do you get some breaks in and lunch and all that? How does that work?
So school begins at 8 a.m. for students. Teachers are expected to be there at 7:20 for worship together. So we have worship at 7:20 to about 7:45, and then we have a few minutes in our classroom. Once students get there, I begin my class with Bible. We have Bible class for an hour. Right afterwards, we move into math for about 40 minutes. And then we do about 30 minutes for social studies or science, depending on the day. I do every other day. And then they have PE, and we have a PE teacher who comes and picks them up. And I believe their PE class is 25 minutes, maybe 30. Sometimes they come back a little later. So it changes. That's at 10:35 or no, at 10:35 PE ends and they come back to the classroom. We don't actually have a cafeteria. So all of the students eat inside of their classrooms. So typically I warm their food. We have a huge Asian population here. So a lot of times that may be ramen or different fried rice with eggs and or even just white rice with eggs and things of that sort. So they have lunch in the classroom followed by recess. Then we have our reading block. And then after the reading block, I have small groups with my students, whatever students may need assistance personally. I spend that time especially with my pre-K students, because actually I have assistants in the morning from 8 to 11. There's a lady, Mrs. Eladoc, who comes in and she's there to do whatever I ask. So at times she'll vacuum the room, she'll sweep the room, she'll wipe down tables,
Nice. Hmm.
or I can have her work with my preschool students. So a lot of times I'll just have her do little worksheets with them, and then I'll review with them in the afternoon and try and get some one-on-one time with each of those students. Also, I have different centers located throughout the room so students know what games they can play depending on their learning abilities. I have a pretty diverse class because while I'm teaching pre-K and kindergarten, I actually have pre-K 3. I have pre-K 3 through kindergarten, but my two preschool students are 3. So I have 3-year-olds
Okay.
and 5-year-olds. So it's quite different with the students who are learning how to hold pistols versus I have one student reading on a third grade level. So there's a
Wow.
lot of yeah, there's a lot of differentiation in the material that I present to them, which I'm grateful for Oakwood Evidence Academy because I had a lot of exposure to the different grades and where students should be and what's next. So I'm able to push some of those higher students to do first grade work even now since the beginning of the school year. And we have iPads for the school. They're shared. We have, I think, 2 carts of iPads that are shared between K and 6. So we have to schedule when we can use those iPads, but I have my time for the afternoon. So they also have that as an option as well. Then they'll go on to have snack, I believe about 1 to 1:15. Our music schedule recently shifted because the Christmas program is coming up and the teacher
Okay.
wants to have my students practice with the older kids as well. So typically nap is 1:45, but they've been at music till 2 o'clock and they'll have a short nap from 2 to 2:30. I'll wake them up and then dismissal begins at 2:45.
Okay. And it's a nice day. That's great.
Yes.
That's great. That's wonderful. So I know the language is English, but I know they have their native language also. So how do you, the students, are they learning English while you're teaching them, or do they already know English?
So the native people who live here are the Chamorro people. Um, they are of mixed descent. I don't want to misspeak, but from what I've heard from different people from here and what I've read and watched in videos, there's a Spanish background along with an Asian background.
Okay.
Also, where we are located, we're close to Japan and not far from Korea as well. So we have a lot of students at our school who are also from Japan and Korea and other Asian countries as well. So my class is pretty diverse. All of the students speak English, and as far as I know, all of the students currently in the school they all speak English. So that hasn't been an issue at all. I'm not actually aware if any of my students know Chamorro, the Chamorro language, but I do have one student in particular. She lived in Korea for a few years, and this is my advanced student. She's fluent in Korean, so sometimes
Nice.
she'll share with us in class.
Oh, nice. That's nice. That's nice. I'm glad you have a nice, diverse group
Yeah,
of students, and that's a great experience.
yes.
Have you yourself got a chance to like tour Guam a little bit? I know as a teacher, sometimes you get busy teaching and you don't get a chance to get outside of school building area. Have you been able
Mhm.
to visit the island a little bit and experience?
Yeah, so I have seen a good amount. I'm sure there's plenty more than I could see. So actually, maybe I would say as of 3 weeks ago, I've been becoming more heavily involved in different groups outside of church, which has pushed me to visit more places because different people want to go different places. I was actually struggling with homesickness maybe a month ago, and that was a lot. I was so weepy that week, and I just wanted to go home. And I was calling my mom, like, I don't know if I can finish the school year out. And of course, she was praying for me and with me. That Sabbath, I also spoke to the pastor's wife, who I love, and she is constantly watching over me and pouring into me. And she put me in contact with other members in the church and things. So all of them came together to speak with me and pray over me. And throughout the week, I know that they're praying for me because I feel the effects. So things have greatly improved. Um, some of the people that they put me in contact with, they reached out. We went paddle boarding last week. That was my first time paddle boarding. Also, I'm supposed to go to a new Bible study at a coffee shop not far from where I live soon. Also, the church recently started more small groups, one of the small groups being closer to where I live. So every Tuesday, I'm planning to attend that. We had our first meeting last week, which was really nice. So I saw a new area that I'm typically not near. And then on Friday nights, every Friday night, I attend a young adults Bible study. That's maybe 30 minutes from my house. And that's actually orchestrated by another church, but I found community there. So that's great.
Nice.
That
Oh,
helped me
great.
to travel back and forth to see a few of the different beaches and things. Oh, and also hiking is very big on island. I think the people
Really?
in general, um, and everywhere I am is very, very diverse because a lot of us are missionaries. So I briefly mentioned we have an SDA clinic. So we have a lot of missionaries, doctors and nurses who are working there as well, who are a lot of the members in the churches. And so they're very, very healthy. They tell me about how they train for their marathons and their triathlon
Really? Okay.
so forth. So at my church, we actually have a group that hikes every week.
Nice.
My first weekend there, I went on a hike. It was on a beach, but there was a mountain that was in the water. And so we hiked around that mountain. It
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
difficult at all, but it was really cool to see the wildlife. I saw blue starfish, I saw octopus, I saw eels and crabs. So there's a lot of wildlife in the water. So that was pretty cool. And then just 2 weeks ago, I went on one of their normal hikes through a mountain, which that was, I would never do it again. I told them, I said, yeah, I like hiking. I grew up in Pathfinders. Like, I like outdoors. This will be fun. I love camping. But what I didn't realize is that we were gonna go on an uncharted trail
Okay.
with high grass, high plants, where we had to climb using our hands, grabbing any branch or rock we could. There were points where we had to pull ourselves up with a rope. It was very, very difficult. And then again, it's rainy season. So in the middle of it, it started pouring and I was miserable and I cried, but I'm glad that I did it. People have told me about the forest here and how pretty they can be, especially when you get to the top. And so it was
Okay.
a beautiful view to see the whole island from the point of the mountain that we were climbing. Um,
Nice. And I'm hoping you did take some pictures.
yes, I have pictures I can share with you.
Okay, good.
They're gloomy, but you can see a lot of the island.
Okay. All right. Well, excellent. Well, that's wonderful that you're having that experience and getting to see the island and
Yes.
people. Excellent. Well, we're close to our time to wrap up. I wanted to ask you, and you kind of referred already to what you plan to do in the future, that you're going to be there for a year.
Yes.
Um, do you plan to go any other places as a missionary, or is that kind of the main place that you wanted to focus on right now?
I'm honestly open to wherever. I don't quite know what's next yet. I definitely do want to continue either even if that's just working abroad and teaching abroad, or volunteering in some regards. The cool thing about developing countries are that we still have orphanages. And so even if I were teaching somewhere as a normal teacher, but then I could devote my evenings or weekends to helping out an orphanage, I would really like to do that because I tried to look into orphanages stateside and we don't really have them anymore. We just have the foster care system and
Okay.
families and things. So I don't know if I want to come back stateside just yet, or I'm still seeing. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, I'm praying about it. Um, and God will lead me.
Yeah. Yeah. He'll direct you on your next step.
Yes.
That's great. And just trying to think of my next question. Sorry. Um, is there any Bible verse or life motto that keeps you motivated? Especially you mentioned, about being homesick and stuff. Is there anything that keeps you going that's been helpful for you?
Yes, I'm going to read it to you because I don't want to mess up. This is my favorite scripture. found in 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9 and 10. It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, and hardships, in persecutions, and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong." And yeah, this has been the thing that's kept me going, especially in those times that I feel lonely. Um, I know that this has been an act of obedience, and it's not just that I came here for vacation. And I'm seeing the people that I'm affecting throughout my day-to-day lives. And even just this past week, the church had me share my testimony of how I was healed. And so many people reached out to me afterwards and just spoke of how powerful that was. And so just knowing that God ordered my steps to be here, as hard as it is, this is where God wants me to be. So I feel secure in that, and I feel strengthened by that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And this is my last question in closing. If there's a teacher currently or someone that's maybe in education now in the teaching area and they're thinking about becoming a missionary, what would you recommend to them um, as far as pursuing that?
I would say don't limit yourself. A lot of people, they may not try to um, discourage you, but what they say can be discouraging.
Mm,
Um, just even the desire to go somewhere that's unfamiliar, that's a big decision. Um, and so a lot of people may say, but you don't know what's there, and what are you going to do if X, Y, and Z happens? Well, ultimately, if God is putting that calling on your life, then follow it. It's not in vain. And just, I would say, really lean into God. Just really spend time in your secret place praying. If you need to, fast and pray. If you have a community that can support you in them, have them come together and pray for you and fast and pray with you, because you won't regret it. No good deed will ever be regretted. And even actually, just in worship last week, we were speaking as teachers of when do you draw the line of doing too much? When do we draw the line at being taken advantage of? But the fact of the matter is, God calls us to be servants. He was a servant to us as humans, despite being a holy being. And the Bible instructs us, if they ask for your coat, give them your shoes too.
mm,
And
yeah,
so I think that while it won't always be comfortable, I don't want to sell you a lie, fairy tale, or anything. Some days will be harder than others,
mm.
but you're strengthening the kingdom. Your relationship with God will be strengthened, and it's worth the journey.
Yeah, so true, so true. Well, Miss Andrea, thank you for your time. And I know there might be some individuals listening or watching that might want to get in contact with you. Um, do you mind sharing your contact information and maybe they'll reach out to you and especially if they're interested in teaching as a missionary?
No, that sounds awesome. I will get you my email,
Okay.
and I'll tell everyone my email. It's actually my last name, Hlongwane, H2, the word two spelled out, TWO, and at gmail.com. And I'll spell my last name. So it's HLONGWANE. And then again, ATWO at gmail.com.
All right. Very good. Very good. Well, we're going to continue to pray for you, and we know God's going to do special blessings, have special blessings for you. We know that you're going to impact the students while you're there, and we're excited. And maybe later at the end of the school year, we'll maybe do another interview, just kind of to share the end results of your experience.
It sounds great. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. And take care. God
You as
bless.